I really see you. I love watching people come in and seeing a new face in the back, which, by the way, these seats are free for later. You can move. I see you if you're not sitting in your right spot. It's really weird. I see you if you're not here because of illness or passing. I see your spaces and your faces. And I see each one of you. Isn't that what we all really want in life? To be seen, really seen. The kind of seeing that leads to feeling understood and makes you feel a heart connection, a holy spark. I would argue that in this morning's Torah portion, Abraham sees God. Abraham sees the altar and the knife, and Abraham sees the ram. But Abraham does not see Isaac, his son. Well, he sees him, but it is on a cursory level in which Isaac is a commodity, something to be sacrificed, something to be used. He does not truly see Isaac or recognize his needs. In not seeing him for who he is, Abraham unintentionally hurts his son Isaac. Isaac wants to know, Ayeh haselu olah, where is the sacrifice? Where is the lamb for the sacrifice? He needs reassurance from his father. He's terrified. He wants to feel safe and seen. But Abraham can't give him that reassurance, so Abraham looks away. At the last moment, a ram appears in the thicket, and Abraham is stopped, literally, from sacrificing Isaac on the altar. We can learn from this moment and ask, who in our lives needs to be seen today? Not to see people as you want to see them, but who needs to be seen as they truly are? Is your child creative and artsy and you want to fit them into a more traditional corporate box? Is your friend in pain, but every time you talk to them, you keep the conversation light and fluffy because it's really hard to go deep? Is your partner frustrated and you blithely go along unaware that there's any friction or distress, or at least pretending to not see it? So many people today feel unseen, leading to a sense of loneliness, isolation, of not feeling they are fitting in. The literal isolation of COVID has added to this distress. We weren't able to see people. It was scary. We are seeing the effects of this stress in our synagogue. Kids not knowing how to play, how to share and work in groups, not knowing how to talk to each other nicely. High schoolers who feel safer hiding behind screens and social media rather than going to events or even parties. Even adults shying away from social gatherings because the risk of rejection, the effort of talking, of conversing, of being face-to-face seems too much. Mental health conditions have soared. NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, reports that in 2021, 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 6 kids ages 6 to 17 in the United States suffer from mental illness. That's 20% of the population. In part, these numbers are high because of our lack of ability to connect. We were stuck hiding behind masks, literally and figuratively. What can we do? How can we deepen our connections and really see those around us? In 1914, Martin Buber had an experience that opened his eyes. He is one of the great thinkers of the 20th century. And at this time, he is fairly well known, so people come to him for counsel and advice. A young man wants to talk to Martin Buber. And Buber is a kind man. He spends some time with him, and afterwards feels the conversation went fairly well. A few weeks later, he learns that the young man's visit had been anything but casual. He had come to Buber in despair. In Buber's words, not for a chat, but for a decision. Buber soon discovers that after their meeting, the young man has taken his own life, committing suicide. Buber is shaken to the core, chastising himself for not having seen the young man's loneliness, having failed to recognize the anxious soul before him. Buber undergoes what he would later call a conversion. He no longer only describes God in mystical terms or in the joy of the dancing Hasidim. Buber understands that the greatest religious deed one can perform is to open oneself to another in true dialogue. A tragedy, a young person's suicide, gave life to one of the greatest theological meditations of all time. Buber called this way of encountering God, I and thou. His theology says that usually we have I-it relationships, treating the other as an object, something to be used, a commodity, something that can be sacrificed. But there are special moments when we have an I-thou encounter. We are fully engaged and create a deep connection on a soul level. To use our language of this morning, when we have an I-thou moment, we are truly seeing and being seen. How is this a theology? Where does God fit in? The idea is that when we truly see each other, God is in that moment of connection, in that place in between where our hearts meet, where we feel seen, where we feel understood and recognized. God is found in a moment of true encounter. These are rare, but oh, so special. This is actually my favorite theology, and it has shaped my life, I hope profoundly. I search for my encounters in the holy with others. I hope that when I am with you, when I am talking to you, even when I'm sending a text, that you feel seen. How can you transform your life into one filled with I-thou moments? Start by thinking about who around you needs you to see them. Who have you not been really looking at? We need to open our eyes and see the people around us, to be with them in their joy, and even more importantly, in their suffering. We need to be fully present to the people, to the others, to those we encounter in our lives. This Rosh HaShana, spend some time thinking about who around you needs you to see them, and then go do it, or just start right now. You might not achieve an I-thou, for it is not something you can force. But in the striving, you create a chance for it to happen. And maybe in that trying, you'll help someone to feel seen, to feel worthwhile, to feel recognized and understood. At the end of our Torah story, Abraham is spared the agony of sacrificing his son. When he sees the ram in the thicket, this was an I-thou moment. Abraham knows he is the presence of God, and I think this is when he finally sees Isaac. He names the spot, the very spot where Jerusalem sits today, Adonai Yireh, God sees. And we hope Abraham really saw too, and that Isaac felt seen. Before it is too late, go and see all the beautiful souls around you. And remember, I see you.